Okay, well, welcome.
Test.
Obviously, this is a different type of panel today because we have a very special guest, and that's ChatGPT with us. But this is the good bots, the bad bots, and the ugly conversation about AI. And that's for all the Clint Eastwood fans in the audience today. So I'm going to start off and just go down the line here, and everybody's going to introduce themselves and what they do.
Hi, I'm Dave Olesnevich. I head up advertising product at the weather company.
And I'm Darrell Blocker. I work for a firm called MOSAIC Security.
Tamer, Hassan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Human Security.
And I'm Eileen Liffring. I'm the moderator today, but I'm usually with The Current at the trade desk. And let's kick things off with a first easy question for everybody, really. AI is obviously very much the talk of the town right now, but the subject is very broad. How would each of you define AI in your own terms? And let's start with you, Dave.
Well, for me, actually, why don't we have the bot answer what AI is first to start?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll name her Gigi for now. Very French, I think. So Gigi, tell us, how would you define
I stands
yourself?
for artificial intelligence. It is a field of computer science that focuses on creating intelligent machines capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. I involves developing algorithms and systems that can learn from data, reason, make decisions, and solve problems. It encompasses various subfields such as machine learning, natural language processing, computer vision, and robotics.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not going to top that.
Yeah, I don't know. But how would you define it, Darrell?
With exception of reason, because I think that the human mind has so far advanced than AI or anything that AI can hope to achieve. That yeah, that's it. And don't fear it, but it's just a tool. You shouldn't be any more afraid of AI than you are of your television or your radio.
Agreed.
And Tamer?
Yeah, so I think probably the first simple step is what it is not. AI has been used for years as a term in marketing, and it's often used to describe traditional machine learning, which is statistics, and that's not what AI is. Training a bunch of data, having it predict the outcome of that data. It's the next level of that is that those algorithms being able to generate something novel, not something that it learned before. And that's the difference between when you hear machine learning or data science and then true artificial intelligence. And that will span from what you'll hear as weak AI, which is intelligent on a domain, all the way to strong AI, which is some depiction of sentience, right? Which we haven't experienced yet. And but that's the whole spectrum in my mind.
Now, there's a lot of ways to use AI. How does each of you go about leveraging AI in your daily business? Let's start with you, Tamer, this time.
Sure. I think it's early days, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this. It's either going to be very strategic to a company and its business, or it's going to be an enable or enhancer to everyone. But look, I think that entire industries will be disrupted within 10 years, very specific ones. That's my thought on it. And it'll start with high-skill jobs, things that are complex, error-prone by humans, right? I think about my early career in a helicopter and aviation. 99% of mishaps in an aircraft are human error, which is mind-boggling, right? And so I think within 3 to 5 years, the startup motion, we'll see entire domains have AI-powered solutions. Legal, right? How do you interpret a 300-page real estate legal document, and how many people does it take? Writing code, right? Things like that, or even aviation. And then I think the AI solutions will be so much better than the non-AI solutions that it'll take 3 to 5 years to completely disrupt an industry. So I think we'll be completely transformed it within 10 years. That's That's my prediction.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy and fast. How about you, Darrell? What would you say?
So my background is in the intelligence community. So I was a intelligence officer that came into that world at the end of the Cold War, and I've never been more excited than when I first became introduced to AI 2 years ago at a crypto conference in Abu Dhabi, and just trying to figure out how to leverage it, how to manage it, how to employ it, how to use it to help advance targeting a terrorist running around in a certain part of the world. So a lot of these things can be used in a very positive sense, and I just don't understand what the fear is, because my fear is when things are not being talked about. And right now, AI is being talked about in every language, in every country, almost on a daily basis. And as long as people are still talking about it, whether you agree with it, whether you agree with where they're going, the fact that it's being discussed, I think, is a very positive thing. And at the end of the day, humanity, people, us, are not going to be usurped or overrun by a bunch of machines. I don't see that. If you want your world to be, run by a machine like the movie She, and fall in love with your laptop, I'm not gonna judge you. I'm not gonna stop you. But at some point, people are gonna have to recognize, and machines are gonna have to recognize that they have a master, and I'm not willing to give up the role as a human and being a master of any intelligence, artificial or otherwise.
Can we take 30 seconds? Can you tell people about your background? I'm always blown away by this.
Yes. So I spent 4 years as a Air Force analyst, but 28 years roaming the world, chasing mostly North Koreans, Iranians, and terrorists. My job was to convince people who hated my government, people who maybe even hated me until they met me, until I was able to convince them or manipulate them in some way. I negotiated with the United States government. Says it doesn't negotiate with terrorists. I'm here to tell you, everyone negotiates with terrorists at some point. And I was kind of good at it. And
there's a TED Talk on it. It's amazing.
I did a TED Talk, and people don't associate the CIA with kindness, and the TED Talk is listen more, speak less, and choose kindness. And just very briefly, it was about how this terrorist had blood on his hands, and I was able to use what I learned in my home, which was treat everyone the same. Whether you own the company or whether you're cleaning the company, treat that person with respect, treat that person with some semblance of humanity. And this stone cold killer, this murderer, this guy whose job was to identify weak and vulnerable children and send them out as suicide bombers, I was able to convince him, because I refused to talk to him chained up. I refused to eat anything until he also had something to eat. And I refused to just treat this man other than our guest. Now, he couldn't leave, so he wasn't really a guest. But at the end of the day, this guy helped us save a lot of lives. So, yes.
Fascinating.
No matter what I say now, it's not going to
We should just stop now.
No, everybody was excited.
See you guys later.
Excited about the CIA guy, and I've been excited about Gigi and the AI. I'm literally geeked about this.
Gigi, can you top that? I don't know. So also the AI market is projected to reach 407 billion by 2027. And that's up from 86.9 billion in 2022. And that's a huge leap, right? Kind of mind-boggling, really. And so while there's like many concerns around AI, there's also a ton of opportunity, possibility. I want to know what excites each of you about AI. Perhaps we start with Dave.
Sure, absolutely. So on every business that's using AI, on the other side of that, there's a consumer. And so what are the great consumer experiences that we're going to be able to produce going forward, whether it be something like manage your health and well-being, managing disease state because you have new insights to be able to help you take care of that, but also what next is entertainment. I'm just hearing about the fantastic entertainment opportunities that are emerging. I recently read that digital humans like Deion Sanders is now available to come to dinner. Who doesn't want Coach Prime at dinner with you? I want Coach Prime at dinner. But also, even more exciting than that I think, just being a music fan, is we're getting a new Beatles song. When was the last time we got a new Beatles song? And that is amazing, and also just generally boosts happiness and well-being.
Not just any Beatles song, but probably your own like personalized Beatles song, which is amazing.
It's crazy. How about you, Tamer?
I think about those numbers that I think they only scratch the surface, and that AI is not actually its own industry. I think it is a tool, a transformation of every industry. And so it's really everything. And I think pretty soon there will be AI-powered industries. There will be the new way and there will be the old way. And that really excites me. I think we're coming to the end of the version of the internet that we know, and it will be replaced with something completely different. What happens when all of us have our own autonomous agent? And not only that, all the businesses have an autonomous agent, and they're just brokering on our behalf, right? And what does that actually look like? I'm very excited about that future and the things that we can't even see right now. It feels like a toy sometimes, you know, using it to write stories or a joke or something, but it's truly a step function change in a lot of things that we'll see over the next few years.
Now, Darrell, with your background.
I'm excited because now I know I'm not the dinosaur that got pushed out by AI to lead the agency 4.5 years ago. Technology has changed considerably from when I walked in the door at CIA in 1990. And at some point, you have to recognize what your limitations are. And then I found out that AI and human, which is human intelligence, which is assessing people, which is looking at someone, which is trying to convince someone to come to your side of the argument, is so close to AI. The AI ecosystem and the human ecosystem are extremely similar. I love puzzles. Everything that I do is a puzzle, and AI is way up there, and intelligence is a part of that. So I'm excited about the similarities between my past 36 years in this world and the next 36, because it's going to be a good ride.
Do you think you can negotiate with an AI?
Yeah, I can just turn off the power.
Easiest negotiation ever. How about you, Gigi? Is there something that excites you about yourself?
The potential of AI excites me because it has the power to revolutionize countless industries and improve our daily lives. I can enhance productivity, automate repetitive tasks, and provide innovative solutions to complex problems. It enables advancements in healthcare, transportation, education, and many other domains. Additionally, AI has the capacity to analyze vast amounts of data, uncover patterns, and generate valuable insights. The prospect of AI driving scientific discoveries, making personalized recommendations, and contributing to a more efficient and sustainable future is truly inspiring.
A lot of positive there. No surprise. I'm not surprised. But obviously, there's a lot of concerns as well, and curious about that as well. Let's start with Tamer.
Sure. Yeah. Concerns about AI. There's obviously a handful, but the first place that we start to look at human is what happens when you jeopardize AI. That's actually the core of products and technology, right? What happens with AI poisoning, where you manipulate the data or the models? What can happen with AI takeover, where you take control of an AI?
One major concern with AI is the potential for bias and ethical implications.
She didn't like what
If
I
not
was
properly
saying.
addressed, AI
She was trying
algorithm.
to cut me off.
A good example of a concern
She got
right
nervous about AI poisoning. No, there's a airline. One of the major airlines is going to replace all of their frontline customer support with ChatGPT chatbots, right? And so, what's the implications of taking over that AI and being able to interact with every customer of your company? Or what happens when AI replaces air traffic control, right? Which it should. It's an error-prone, complex problem. And what happens when you do AI poisoning on air traffic control with 1,000 planes coming into JFK? Like, I don't know. That's the kind of thing I worry about.
Me too. Darrell, what would you say?
So the potential for bad players, the uptick in extremism over the last decade or so is concerning. You don't have to push someone to do something evil by convincing them in person. You can do it almost all online now. Of it being a single source, this is the fact, and it's not a fact, it's a tool, it's one piece of information that's out there and available to you. But if you're not a discerning person, if you're someone who's just only going to rely on this one little piece of intelligence, of technology to help you make decisions, it's going to go wrong for a lot of people, because everyone does not have your best interest at heart. And asking more and more in-depth questions, you'll see just how wrong that some of this technology can go. But also to just trust yourself, trust your gut that this doesn't seem right. And if it doesn't seem right, we got millennium of technology right here in our brain that has kept us alive and on this planet. Trust yourself and question AI always. Question authority, and that's going to be the authority.
All right. How about you, Dave?
Three things for today. Just picking up what we were just talking about here. We're a huge global publisher, reaching over 400 million people every month, and if generative AI is able to write code and create software rapidly, does that introduce the opportunity for more malicious bots attacking my websites and apps? Mm-hmm. I don't want any part of that. So that's certainly top of mind. But more macro level, I feel like this generation of AI, people are resisting more about adoption of it. And I think going forward, it's humans and machines. It's always going to be humans and machines going forward. And so I think we got to get past this phase where there's fear and get everybody to embrace it more in order to drive greater outcomes. And lastly, and this is actually most time sensitive and very important for everyone here, in that I don't think that you have enough AI generated weather insights to get you through the rest of Cannes Lion. So I have some here for you today. So number one, if you didn't like being on a boat last night, don't go on a boat tonight. Those waves are going to be choppy again, and it's not going to be pretty.
I heard there was an entire boat that threw up, including the crew, because it was so bad.
Yeah. It wasn't pretty.
Number two, tomorrow is going to be a little bit overcast, but don't forget the sunblock. Sun rays are going to still get you, so please take care of your skin. Number three, if you're sticking around for Friday, that's your beach day. It's going to be hotter and very, very sunny, less clouds.
Yes.
And lastly, this is, everybody here is enjoying the food and wine, I hope. I know I certainly am. But one thing that's really noticeable for me is the berries, specifically the strawberries. They're so flavorful here. So if you're going back to the US though, you're not going to get these berries. Because earlier this year in California, where 90% of strawberries are grown, huge atmospheric river dumped tons and tons of rain and flooded strawberry crops. And so it produced these larger, less flavorful strawberries. So enjoy the berries while you're here.
That was definitely some more positive concerns, I would say, than what we were previously talking about. So obviously we do have a lot of government and business representation on the panel today. When we saw, I guess, the Pope in a Balenciaga puffy coat, it was worth a laugh, right? But then when you see an image such as, well, a fake image of like the Pentagon exploding online, that's not so funny, right? So I guess, how do you basically look around that? Like, how do you, that also affected like the stock market in the US,
right,
along with the news cycle. That's very deep concerning. How do you just respond to something like that?
Again, I think it comes back to education. If you're looking at one single news source and accepting it as concrete fact, then I suggest that look at something else. The Pentagon one I recall because I got calls from overseas and they were like, is it really happening? It wasn't on any other television anywhere in the world. So what do you think? No, it is not happening. That was someone playing with AI, and it upset people. This is not 1930s When War of the World happened and people were sitting in their homes all across America, it wasn't tight like we have it now. And I could understand how that happened, 100 years ago. But the fact that it's happening today suggests that people are over-reliant on one tool. There are multiple tools out there. You can't build a house with just a hammer. You can't build a house with just a screwdriver. You can't build a house with, just any one tool. And you shouldn't live your life focused on just one thing. Please, when you see something that upsets you, check out other things to make sure that it's not there. So that's how you get around it. People have to take some responsibility for their reaction to things. You might not be able to control what happened, but your response to it is controllable. Take a deep breath, figure out if it's actually real or not, and then make decisions about what you're going to do next.
I'm optimistic about that. I think culture will correct. I think this is novel and new, and we're going to get used to fake things being generated, and it'll be the first question. I mean, how many people are still trying to figure out if their Netflix account is overdue or something, right? You get 10 texts a day, and just like that, you're not going to click on a random link in your text.
Right.
I think we're going to get inoculated to it pretty quickly. I think it's relatively new. I think the more sophisticated things are going to be challenging. The nation state level coordination is the thing to think about. But yeah.
How about you, Dave?
I think you think about what decisions you're going to make with this information you have. If you have your quadrant of high risk, high reward, and low risk, high reward, if you're going to make a financial decision or a health decision, make sure you're understanding where your sources of data are and you're considering multiple sources. If you're going to have, your AI predictive bot turn on the lights in your house because it thinks you're going to wake up, go for it. There's no loss to that,
Yeah, you don't want to buy something like a house on,
Right.
stuff the AI is telling you. I don't know. But Gigi, what do you think?
The incident you mentioned highlights the significant impact that AI-generated content can have on various aspects of society, including financial markets. It underscores the need for responsible and ethical deployment of AI technologies. As AI continues to advance, it is crucial to develop robust mechanisms for verifying the authenticity of digital content and preventing malicious use. Collaborative efforts among technology developers, policymakers, and society as a whole are necessary to address these challenges and ensure the responsible use of AI. By fostering transparency, accountability, and awareness, we can mitigate the potential negative consequences and harness the positive potential of AI in a way that benefits humanity as a whole.
Amen.
I'm just wondering who could have predicted that they were going to do major construction on the Quisette during Cannes Lion. I don't know. Maybe Gigi could have.
Probably. So this one's for Darrell specifically. With your experience in the intelligence community, how does the massive spread of disinformation affect the ability to protect our national security?
So the intelligence community is probably better placed to not react or not to overreact to things because there's so much collaboration within the United States. There are 16 different agencies that are constantly talking to each other, constantly making sure that they're keeping everyone abreast of what's going on. I honestly don't think disinformation is going to impact the national security on that level because today our U.S. Congress is talking about it. Yesterday our president was talking about it, and there's probably not any president or any Congress in the world that's not addressing the fact that AI is here to stay. AI is something that they need to keep the spotlight on. And I never saw a case go bad. I never saw an asset get killed. I never saw anything that went the wrong way when trust was a part of the equation or when an understanding of what was being proposed was out there. It's when you don't talk about what's going on when things start to run afoul. So I'm not really concerned from a national security perspective.
How about when it comes to the spy game? How do you think AI is going to change that?
It changed a lot. It changed biometrics. It changed one's ability to operate undercover. It changed cross-border activities. it changes everything, but it also opens up new avenues. I'll tell a very quick story. So I was the head of the farm. The farm is the CIA's training facility for 3 years. It was at the same time that the Arab Spring was happening, and the Egyptians shut down the internet in Egypt. And so the instructors got together and said, well, maybe we need to emulate this real world in the training. So they stopped the students, stopped these spies in training from having access to their electronics. And of course they bitched and moaned and said, this isn't fair. And we said, this is real world. This is happening to your colleagues right now in Tunis, in Egypt, in other places in the Middle East. So now you have to adapt. What came out of that, the ingenuity of how they figured out to meet securely with their, their pretend assets during training, actually helped people do this effectively in the field. So at some point, every good thing has a positive side to it, and we were able to incorporate some very real world, you don't have access to this, but you still need to go out and have this meeting, get that information, feed it back into Washington, keep that person safe, keep yourself safe. So, 6 of one, half dozen of another.
That's wild. Yeah. Tamer, a human is in the business of knowing who and what is real on the internet. In many ways, AI is causing a breakdown in consumer trust. Can technology actually catch what is AI versus what is real human behavior? And if so, how?
Yeah, great question. I think of AI as autonomous agents of some form, just very sophisticated ones. We've been dealing with bots for 10 years, these autonomous agents, seen them do everything on the internet, from breaching accounts to listening to music on streaming platforms, because there's incredible value into making something more popular. And the one thing that we've always observed is that the trend to be more and more human-like, to the point that most autonomous agents now look perfectly human. So I think the short answer is yes, but you have to combat AI with AI. That game just got elevated, and it's not a human-to-human game anymore. It's not a human-to-machine game. But I think our strategy and our ethos was always, how do we make it unprofitable? How do we make it more expensive for adversaries, less expensive for collective defense? And I think the strategy will always win over the particular technology. And so I think that's where it's at.
Agreed.
Now, Dave, IBM Watson Advertising recently rebranded as the Weather Company, but obviously you still use AI to drive a lot of business outcomes. Can you tell us a little bit about how you are going about this?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So most recently, IBM Watson Advertising rebranded to the Weather Company. A little bit of irony there is we're actually using more AI in our business than we ever had before. In fact, this second, right now, in the next second, we're using more than we were last second. It's built into our business. It's ingrained in everything from our world's most accurate forecast that we produce to the personalized experiences you have when you come to our apps and websites, to our weather targeting triggers, to our AI DCO, our chat bots that we have in ads. They're not malicious bots. They're actually very good bots that
So you
provide.
think.
Right. Well, we're going to have to make sure that they stay that way, right? But it's definitely ingrained in our business, and it will be for the future.
One more for Tamer here. One of the things you talk about a lot is how tech is democratic. The good guys are obviously not the only ones that have access to all of these advancements, though. How are you seeing cyber criminals use AI to scale attacks?
Yeah, I think it's just the beginning, and a lot of the conversation in cyber is how to use AI to make your attack better and faster. And so, like Dave mentioned earlier, AI can write code now. It can write better malicious code than most hackers. And now the dumbest hacker can write the most sophisticated code. That wasn't the case 5 years ago. And that is a scary thing. But that's what we'll see is AI being used to scan infrastructure to find vulnerabilities. Usually it takes brilliant hackers to do that, and AI being used to write code usually takes brilliant hackers to do that. No longer the game. It's democratic. Every one of you can become a brilliant hacker tomorrow, and write better malicious code than the stuff we've seen in the last 10 years. That's the new game,
I was
ultimately.
about to say there are limits to that. It's not me. I will.
Just talk to Gigi. Should you?
Gigi. I'm kidding. So one more for Dave. How can collective partnerships help when it comes to like concerns around protection?
Great question, and I think Darrell started this, and it's conversation. So today, everyone here, we've got a diverse panel here bringing different perspectives, but we've got all you here now too, and you're leaning in, you're hearing from us, you're forming your own opinions. You're going to go have more conversations about this, and so this is how we as a community, and a creative community, and advertising community, business community, like disseminate information, share, and learn.
Awesome.
I think there's a great example right now with everything that's happening in schools, right, where schools are freaked out about papers being written, and so there's partnerships already being developed where you can go to OpenAI and others and check whether something was written by AI, which is it's a great example of a collaboration and a data partnership.
Cool. Let's close out with a lighter note here. So at Human, I understand that you usually introduce like new hires by asking what their favorite robot is. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So I want to know what each of yours favorite robots is. Do you have one? Dave?
Yes, absolutely. This question, when we prepped for it, didn't take me less than a second to know the answer. OG R2D2.
Good
Classic.
One. Good one.
I don't know the name of him, but Danger, Will Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up on Lost in Space, and I can literally remember being a kid growing up in Japan and getting excited about watching this robot, and I knew it was real. I mean, it was as real to me as you are sitting in front of me today. So, yeah, Danger, Will Robinson.
That's a good one.
Yep.
How about you?
Has anyone seen Flight of the Navigator? Do you remember that one when we were
Yes.
kids? Like that
Yes.
was my Max. It was
Oh
the
my God.
spaceship that could you just step into the spaceship as a kid and talk to the spaceship, and it would argue with you and then take you wherever you wanted. But that was my spirit robot.
Cool. I would have to say mine would be like the maid, and I totally forget the name.
From the Jetsons?
From the Jetsons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Anyway, well, thank you everybody for coming to the panel today, and thank you all for participating.
Thanks.
We have one more. I'm so sorry. I'm totally losing my voice. We have one more question that we're going to ask Gigi. Thank y'all for coming on this little experiment. Obviously, everything at CAN is now about how we are all being replaced by AI. I think we've just proven that these panelists and others are not being replaced by AI anytime soon. So
No.
thanks for coming on this little creative experiment with us. And just give me 1 second for my last question. It's okay. Tamer's going to help me with this. Gigi's just going to give us our answer. It's okay. No pressure.
Any questions that anybody wants to ask? Yeah. All right.
Hi, my name's Eric. I have actually two questions. And one, the first one comes from a recent release of information regarding European Union and France, who are extremely reluctant to release GPT in Europe. And there was actually a vote very recently where maybe out of a panel of nearly 200 people, only 27 were pro AI and GPT because they considered they weren't able to master it. So that goes to show there's a huge consideration of who owns AI and how it's spread across the globe and how it can actually affect you because you want to know who's behind it, which is legitimate. But for me, it's a little bit like saying internet is coming and we're reluctant. So for me, it doesn't make sense. Yet,
Completely agree.
Yet people are today convinced that they can block it and stop it. So what do you think of that?
No, genie is out of the bottle. We can make it illegal today, and it would only make it worse because it would create an imbalance. Like the AI race is already started. We think it's, right at the beginning, but we're already, a quarter of the way through it. And I think we just have to brace for the ride. There's no stopping it. But the interesting thing is that, OpenAI's original mission was to open source AI so that there was something that wasn't closed source like Google and Facebook, and it would democratize access to AI. That was the original founding. It was a nonprofit open source AI engine. And guess what? It's no longer open source and it's no longer nonprofit. It's a revenue generating private AI company. And we probably can name about a dozen AIs right now, but who knows what's happening, in nation state governments or in the dark web, right? Or everywhere else where AIs are going to be generated. I think we're on for the ride.
Okay, thanks. And the other one is considering the challenges it poses regarding what we used to be able to do and what we want to continue being able to do. I just want to take an example. Is a bit more in Barry's world, because we come from a similar background. Initially, in the late 40s, OSS, the Americans, pushed forward tactics to the Brits, who were from the SOE, Special Operations Executive, and the French BCRA during the Second World War, where they would work on clandestine and very down-to-earth tactics in order to be able to work in a clandestine world. Well, that hasn't changed. I mean, the basics are still there. They're still being, where you've been at the farm, so that's still what's being taught is all the basics are still there, but we're using new modern tools to the best advantage possible. And then if we're confronted to problematics, yes, indeed, we can temporarily block it down, come back to the fundamentals. That's what in a company we call business continuity planning. It's what if, what if AI is a temporary hurdle? It's like today, well, we have cybersecurity. Okay, we get into that. What do we do? Okay, we freeze it. We go back to a secondary plan, and then we keep on moving. So indeed, the threat, I believe, it has to be considered as a potential problem, but certainly not a threat in going forward.
I was just going to say, Eric had me at OSS. If you don't know what the OSS is, it's the Office of Strategic Services, predecessor to the CIA, 42 to 45. And those people changed the world. Those people were here in Cannes, they were in Sweden, they were in Asia, they were everywhere. They're my heroes. That's why I joined the CIA, because of the OSS. And honestly, the impact that they had on how France, Germany, and the rest of the intelligence services from the West operate, a lot of it was gleaned from these amazing women who came out and stood up for their country, and a lot of them you never even heard of, but I'm telling you, these people have serious, amazing backgrounds and histories, and they would be excited. I can't speak for them, but I'm telling you, they would be excited about AI because they would see the potential of it. They would not see it as a threat. They would see it as a way to advance whatever way they were going to move forward. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to the fact that we can't control some things. Bruce Lee says, move with the water. If you try to fight the water, if you ever been caught in a cross current, it's almost impossible to get out. But if you move with the flow, guess what? You're just going to move on. It might not take you where you want to go, but don't fight it. Don't resist it. And outlawing it, that's just crazy talk. It's never going to happen. And you can put your head in the sands all you want. It's not going to go away. Stop fearing it. Try to embrace it. Embrace it as the difference that it is. And I'm excited about the next 10 years, the next 20 years. I'm excited because we also have a generation of folks, what we call, Gen X or, Gen Z. And every generation as we know it has been the end of mankind as we know it, but it's never happened. They're going to save humanity. They're going to save this planet. And I think they're ideally suited. And these are the kids who sat in their basements playing video games for their entire lives. They're running the world right now. And thank God for them because they understand it. They get it. They get how it's created. They get the potential. They get the entertainment side of it. They also get the fact that there are, black hat hackers and white hat hackers, and it's a game to them. And sometimes they just want to see if they can do something. There's no real ill intent. They just want to see if they can break into that account. Now,
See what's possible.
They want to see exactly the possibilities. And this is like space exploration for me. AI. Love it.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Thank you. So you said there's no need to be scared of AI.
Right.
Yeah. And I listened to this podcast recently. Yeah, classic. About AI, where someone said basically, like ChatGPT went from like 50, like
Yes.
IQ of 50 to like 150,
Yes.
and 180 is like the highest we
Yes.
ever have seen. So you don't know what's gonna happen if something is smarter than that.
Yes.
And so I just would love to know why you are so sure. If we don't know, like, we've never seen anything as intelligent as that, how are you so sure it's not gonna be a danger, especially if it's like enabling potentially bad people
Right.
to do worse things?
It will enable people to do bad things, but people have been doing bad things for a long time. A lot of it's being done because people close their eyes to what's happening. The fact that it's literally, there's not a venue here that's not talking about AI.
Yeah.
Everybody is talking about it. That is a fantastic and good thing. It makes people less afraid. It makes people less concerned. How many really, really smart people have you met that are dumb as bricks when it comes to social awareness and engaging with people? That's going to be AI for a long time. AI is not going to be able to have a genuine conversation like this. They can put words up on the screen and they can answer, specific questions, but to feel the essence, the real, the humanity of it all. I don't fear it because I'm a human and that's a machine. I don't care if it has a 180 IQ. It's not going to be smarter than me on an emotional quotient. And I think there's, an over abundance of people who look at, you're really, really smart, and there are a lot of smart people in the world. I don't need to be as smart as the bot. I just need to be
Know where the plug is.
right. Know where the plug is. Yes, that too. But I listen. My life was spent chasing Al Qaeda. Okay, I know danger. I am not even a little bit afraid of AI, and those guys are using AI. Those guys have been using AI for about 15, 20 years, and they're really, really good at it, but they're not as good as we are. They're not as smart as we are. They're not as, they don't have the breadth of experiences that we have, because it's not just the United States. Everyone recognizes that no one can do this alone. The partnerships that grew out of 9/11, I think are going to save this world. A lot of bad happened after 9/11 and leading up to 9/11, but I honestly and truly believe that moving forward, that the fact that the world recognizes that this is a threat, whether it's counterterrorism, whether it's counterproliferation, whether it's AI and not really grasping it and understanding what it means, it's not going to end the world. So I can't allay all your fears, but study it,
I just
and
had
listen
it.
to as many podcasts as you can, because there's going to be a lot of opinions on both end of the scale. And honestly, no matter what subject you're looking at, it's almost always somewhere in between whatever the extremes are saying.
Here's the interesting scenario that I think is good to think about is how long do you think it'll take before somebody starts petitioning for an AI to have rights, the same as humans, equality of rights?
Oh, it's going to happen.
Throw out a guess. How long do you think it'll take?
I
Already there.
think it's already
It's
happening.
already
Oh, yeah.
happening, right? And there's this amazing book called Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom. He's one of the authorities on where this goes, and you go all the way to strong AI is kind of the term, and that is super intelligence. It's literally an order of magnitude beyond any IQ we could ever imagine. And so now I imagine a world where you have a super intelligent entity that has rights, right? And so how do you think about that? And I don't even know.
I saw iRobot.
I'm not gonna play cards.
I didn't read the Isaac Asimov book, but the iRobot, if you haven't seen it, is pretty much what you're talking about. And that, but all you need is that one glitch.
Yeah.
That one computer amongst all the other robots to say that, this isn't right. And there will be, they're not going to take over the planet. Okay, they can't walk.
I don't know.
Okay.
I kind of want a personal assistant.
That's how it starts. There's an amazing, if you're into science fiction, classic sci-fi, called the Culture series, and basically it's the evolution over several books of this. AI does everything for us. They all have individual rights, and so they're entrusted to cater for the entire race, but their brains are able to compute 1,000 times more complex and faster than
I'm all
humans.
for letting someone else do something for me. I really am. I got no problem with that. But at some point, what are we gonna just sit in one place and just have technology feed us, entertain us? What's the goal?
Yes.
I don't
I think
understand.
that's
As long as they're feeding you strawberries from France.
Strawberries and friends.
I honestly think it'll lead to universal basic income and a redefinition of cultural values, where cultural values right now are tied to work ethic. I think that'll change. I don't know what. Like, is it going to be EQ? Is it going to be art? Is it going to be? But when you don't have to do work anymore and everybody can sustain themselves, I don't know. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
I think we have another question.
We're talking about these existential, worldly things here. I'm going to bring it back to advertising because we are at an advertising conference.
Good call.
I'm going to throw this to Tamer directly because of your company. We know that whether it's MFA or IVT bots, that we've been in cat and mouse games now for the last decade. And I think we can all predict likelihood that the bad actors who are creating those type of sites and those type of experience that are drawing dollars out of the ecosystem are going to very quickly see the benefits of AI designed to be the next cat before the mouse. How does, in your opinion, running a company whose job is to protect our media dollars, how do you guys perceive this next threat of humans using AI to program bots designed to outsmart the bot detection?
Yeah. $600 billion spent in digital advertising every year. If even a fraction of that is lost, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry for fraud and cybercrime. Fundamentally, the entire game is economic. If you know nothing about cybersecurity and you just internalize that it's an economic game, the cost of the attack versus the cost of defense, you know more than most practitioners. You have to increase the cost to attackers, lower the cost to defenders. That's the only long-term way to play. This is deterrence theory. This is what nuclear warfare is based off of. It is, age-old principles. And I think about AI more like a weapon system or a capability than a particular threat. And I think it's an economic game. So I don't think cat and mouse will ever go away. You just have to make it more expensive for the attackers, and there's a lot of ways to do it with deception or law enforcement, the whole range. But I think that's really where it's at.
But doesn't AI make perpetrating the crime cheaper?
Cheaper, faster, better. Yeah, but you have AI on both sides. It's democratic. And so it's not the technology that will win, it's the strategy. And, there's a thing called the OODA loop in defense theory. Any two opponents in any game react to each other always in the same cycle. Observe, orient, decide, act. Right? You can map any opponent in any game to that. And the real way to play is to make your enemy's OODA loop go slower and yours go faster and less expensive. That's the same game. So when I flew Blackhawks, like in combat, the first rule was never get detected, right? The observe. You stop the OODA loop at the top. Guess what? We spend trillions of dollars on stealth technology, right? The second one, orient, right? It's getting a radar lock in my context, and and we spend the next set of trillions of dollars on anti-jamming technology. So it's playing that game. It's not the technology itself, it's the strategy that wins.
Good luck with that strategy.
Yeah, it's the only winning strategy.
Well, I mentioned coming into this espionage world during the Cold War, and there was mutually assured destruction. That's the same thing. Guess what? North Korea is really good at hacking. North Korea almost took down Sony, one of the biggest companies in the world. The Iranians are really, really good at hacking. All of them are tapping into systems here, the electrical grid here in France, the United States, but they also know that we have the capability to shut down their entire systems. So it's kind of this cat and game. I'm going to play with you a little bit here. And if they want to do the mutually assured destruction, we can destroy a lot of people. And that's not what anyone wants. It doesn't generate for the, it is the OODA loop. And I hadn't heard the OODA loop in about 6 years, man. That's taken me back a little bit. But stop fighting it. Stop fighting the flow of water. The flow will drown you. It will take you out to sea, or you can swim with it. Swim with it.
Eat the strawberries.
Eat the strawberries.
Eat the strawberries.
Right.
Very nice.
All right.
Do we have any more time for questions? Any others?
We'll be hanging out.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome.